We are live.
Is being live streamed. How exciting! Hello, 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 and welcome. Calling all. There we go. I had to mute that because I wanted to be smart and talk to me. How are we all doing? Now, I have to press record on this. Except, how do I do that? Let's see. Record. There we go. We're recording now. Yeah. There you go. Thank you. Because I'm going to get into a lot of trouble by certain individuals if I don't record tonight. Hello and welcome, everybody. So good to see you. Thank you for coming to join us tonight. We're so grateful to have Unique back in the pack. Yes. We are the what do they call them? The three musketeers.
The three musketeers, yeah.
We're back with a lot of trouble. We got a lot of trouble for you. Welcome. Please leave your comments. Let's have a conversation tonight. Let's not just have a one-way conversation. Tonight, we are going to be talking about, what are we talking about? Who can get there before me? I always forget the title because it's ever so clever usually.
Cultivating love through unleashing your dreams.
There you go. That's why we need that third person in the house. Cultivating love through unleashing your dreams. That's what we're talking about today. And it's really based around the Soulmate Attraction System course. For those of you who don't know what it is, that's our signature course here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. So you know that if you make a discovery call to us, you cannot access it. You cannot access the service of the coaches without having a discovery call, because we need to be able to see if you are ready for the journey, because it's very intense, and whether you are a good fit for us as coaches and our work and our practice, because not everybody fits everything, and we always want to make sure that everybody is the fit, and that you get an opportunity to decide if we are a fit for you as well, if the energy is on the same frequency and you feel comfortable. So this is a course that we have been running. Literally, I've been running for a very, very, very long time, that I developed over many, many months, over years, to be honest, and keep developing, because I recognize that even though we're all so individual, we all have our separate DNA, and we are also, different and so powerful in our own way. There are some processes that can help us really dig out some of our unconscious beliefs, that can really help us interrogate the limiting beliefs that we have, and to really understand ourselves better, because self-awareness is the one thing that we need the most if we're going to be in relationship. Sometimes we think, gosh, I really need to know everything. I need to know about men. I need to know everything. I need to know about dating. But the truth is, all you need to really know is you. You need to know how you tick. You need to know your journey. You need to know, I'm reminded of a scripture where Christ says, they said, who are you? Who do they say that I am? I think they were questioning his identity. The Pharisees were questioning Christ's identity. And he says, well, look, I know where I'm coming from and I know where I'm going. He didn't really care about what they were thinking. It didn't really matter what the world said about him. He was giving us a spiritual principle to say, look, as long as you understand where you're coming from and where you're going, your identity will always be yours to have, and you'll always know how to navigate, because everything we do comes from who we are, right? And so whilst that seems simple, I know where I'm coming from. It's such a simple statement, but so many of us do not know where we're coming from. We do not know the psychological pathways we're coming from. We do not know the genesis of why we think the way that we think, do the things that we do, hurt in the places that we hurt, why we hurt the way that we hurt. We simply don't understand ourselves. All we see are the results of being who we are. All we see is the output of who we are, which sometimes manifests as being broke, busted, disgusted, unable to keep a relationship, choosing the wrong men, attracting and choosing the wrong men, and behaving in the most dysfunctional ways, and wondering, what was that about? We know why. We know that we are behaving in a way that is not serving us. We know that we are attracting what is not serving us. We know that we are not making progress in a way that is serving us. However, we don't know why. because we don't know where we're coming from. So the Soulmate Attraction System course is really to give us a deeper sense of understanding of where we're coming from, where we're coming from genetically, where we're coming from spiritually, where we're coming from psychologically, so that we can understand why we do the things we do. And then we can disrupt patterns along the way. And so we've been really talking to our, our past clients who are still very much Black Swans and part of the academy and still taking their journey with us. Some of them are taking it in marriage. Some of them are taking it in such magnificent ways we wish we could share, but that's their story to tell. And we had a wonderful good news in our group, the coaches group, the other day about one of our Black Swans who was on here, and she's just had the best news ever. So it's constant. It's living a life where we create miracles all the time, because we are the most divine beings and we can create great miracles. So we've been really just sort of touching on some of the nuggets and some of the points in the Soulmate, and we've been here for an hour just talking about just the course itself, just the stuff that comes up in the course, never mind the stuff in the course, which is like deep stuff. And this system works. It just works point blank, period. If you're ready to absolutely change your life, change your love life, change your stories all around, just change everything. This course, even though I didn't take it as a course, it was something that I took as a journey, if you like, has absolutely transformed my life. And I completely transformed the lives of the coaches here. So there is no way of going through the system and not transforming your life for the better in every way, shape, or form. Today, we're going to be really touching on module 5, which is really about that point when we've developed that deeper self-awareness. We've done that introspection. We've understood our patterns with men. We have worked with our coaches to really look deeply at the patterns that we create with men. We have worked with our coaches to really understand our blueprint, the families we come from, the dynamics of our families, how they contribute to who we have become. We have looked at our wounds, our mother wounds, our father wounds. We've looked at our neurological pathways. We've looked at our, we've looked at absolutely everything. We've opened that, what do we call it, Yvonne? We've opened the what?
The vault.
We've opened the vaults. We've opened that can of worms, and we've seen them crawl out, and they're yucky, and we've cleaned it up. And we've done all of we've done a lot of crying, haven't we? At this point, we've done a lot of sobbing. We've done a lot of jumping with excitement and joy. We've gone through the roller coaster of emotions that comes with healing. We've gone through the moments where we don't want to show up for the next call because it's too painful. We've gone through so many of these kind of journeys that this system takes us through to healing. And now we're at module 5, where we're now looking at the landscape of our lives. And we're looking at everything, and we're kind of taking that breath, because we're kind of getting to the top of that mountain now. And, the struggle has kind of ended, and then we're almost presented with another struggle before we get to the finish. And, we are being asked to figure out our soul's desires. And that should be fun, right? It should be fun. Like, my soul desires. What are my soul desires? And this module is called Stepping into Your Power. Okay, so we've taken back our power in the last modules. We've understood what our power truly is. We really know what it is. We're not just using catchphrases. We know our personal power. We've taken it back from the places that we outsourced it. Now we're stepping into our power, and we have to own our desires.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really scary place, believe it or not, because once you've washed clean whatever has been underneath, and you now have the world as your oyster, you have no more excuses. This can be really, really scary. And I'm just going to leave it at that for now, because I can talk about this forever. And I'm going to share with you one question that we do ask in the very beginning. And I'm going to let the coaches just talk and just share what they think, their thoughts, their experiences, going through it personally for themselves, taking clients through it. What are the reactions? What would be your reactions? And really just gleaning from our experience so that you can get as much out of this. But I was just looking at this before I came on live. If I deserved better, what would that look like? That's the first question. If I deserved better, what would that look like? And maybe those of you watching today can write that down and maybe use that as a journal prompt and really think about that. And just for a minute, think about that question. Is so loaded. If I deserved better,
it is.
What would that look like? So what are your thoughts, Unique? What are your thoughts on module 5, what I've said, the whole experience? What would you like to share with us and the people?
I think for me, this this is the best part, I think, of doing soulmate with clients, because it's when they give themselves the permission, like, I can actually have this.
Yes.
And even though it's not in front of them, it's the fact that they wrote it down, and months later you're watching them live that out. Like, fair enough, this is like 2 modules before you finish, say, if you're doing the 7 weeks, but we do 12 weeks anyway. But module 5 is normally right towards the end, when you're now thinking, phew, okay, I've cried, I've done all my load shedding, as it were. I've shedded everything. I'm now this one woman. It's almost like at that point where you just feel empty. They're not empty, but it's a blank slate. You can now write whatever story you want to write.
Yeah.
And it's a scary place, because it's almost like before you even ask that permission, I always find myself having a conversation with the client that, like, you actually need to give yourself permission. I give you permission to do whatever you want to do. So you need to now give yourself the permission to look, if this was just everything was in line, what would my soul really desire? Like, what would I really want? Because that's a question we're never asked. And I was just finished with a client, but we're still only on module 1. But some of the questions are already like, it's almost you have to really dig deep, because she's never been asked those questions. She's never been asked, like, what do you want out of life? And I remember asking her, so how many kids do you want? And she's like, however many kids he wants. And I was like, no, but how many do you want? Because it's something that we're never approached like that. Like, what do you actually want? What do you actually want in life? I will later on touch on a very controversial topic, because I'm the recent watcher of a certain movie that most people don't like at the moment. Still don't know why, but it touches on things like that. It touches on accepting yourself totally with all your flaws and wanting better. And it being okay to want better and more, right? And I think that's what module 5 really touches on. It's like, it's okay for you to want it all and your bag of chips. And, because you've now worked on your trauma, you've now worked on the girl that used to attract the dusties. So this new girl is not going to do that anymore. So what would you like her to be? And it's almost like, and actually I remember a client of mine saying, I'm going to need to pray about that. I'm like, yeah, I know you want to pray about it, but what do you think you actually want? What does your soul desire? And it's very telling in how out of touch we are at times, I think. And I'll leave it at that. What are your thoughts?
Love
Yvonne?
it.
I started very patient listening to you, and I think your clients and mine, and I suppose Nadine would say the same, and Edwina would say the same, that they're all very different, because a number of my clients, when we get to module 5, you would think, as Chengi said earlier, you can see the mountain peak from where you are, and you're not even having to, step back to look up. You can actually see it. So you would think that, yay, I'm almost there. Yeah, I know what I want. But they get there. And you said something very important, that you've shed it. You've shed a lot of the baggage. But here's the thing. You've now got to put a new coat on. And didn't come prepared for that coat, because you're still waiting for somebody to say, okay, we're doing this, okay. And then it's almost like you've taken a step back, and it isn't that you've taken a step back, it's just that the door is open. It's Pavlov's dog.
Yes.
The cage is open, they've turned off the electricity, your nose or your paws not going to be burnt, but you still sit there. And a lot of my clients, I've had to let them sit for a week to think about it, talk them through, and then say, okay, so what do you think now? When you were this, what did you want to do here? Now that you're here, how do you want to go about it? So it's, I think it's twofold, where you're a deer caught in headlights in one part, and then on the other side, but are you sure though? You sure I can have it? There's this doubt that I'm not 100% sure if it's even right. You mean I can take a day off and not worry about there being any repercussions of it? It's funny and it's sad at the same time, because you still got to, come, let me take your hand, let's go. And, navigate a little bit, because after they've done and come through module 5, then when 6 comes, it's the hurrah, and then 7, yes.
I know.
Absolutely.
I
And
guess they're expecting to cry again. I need to know, because I've been crying for the past 4 modules. Okay, now I need to cry into 5.
and I think people don't realize that these modules are months long and weeks long. It's not, just unless you do self-study. I had somebody do self-study and sit on it the whole day and do it. I was like, there's no way you did it properly. But there's a weeks and weeks and months of work. This is the reason we call it our signature courses, because it really is a quarter of your year, really committing to your transformations, just disappearing from the earth for 3 to 4 months to really parent yourself. Because when you're both talking, I was like, this is really the parenting we should have had. A lot of the questions and the way the clients respond to the question, it's like, and I myself recognize that these are questions that people just do not get asked by their parents, as their parents are trying to put food on the table and clothes on their backs and keep the electric going and keep them physically alive. There's never really any how are you? What do you want, darling? What do you think is possible? And that little girl that used to dream of being able to fly and be a butterfly one day, she dies, but she's the only one that matters at the end of the day, because we are creators of our lives and of our world. And the more broken, egoic part of us started to create our lives. But it's really interesting, because I was talking to Nadine yesterday, which is, interesting that this, you said, Unique, about that whole element of, Unique is the want what you want and need what you need girl, here in the academy. She's the I give you permission girl, give yourself permission, I give you permission. And it's so funny how we almost need permission to desire what we desire. And I had just been talking to the Lord. God has been talking to me about Ephesians 23 verse 20, I think. And I will give you exceedingly abundantly above all you could ever ask or think, right? And I just had to sit on that for a while. Like, I had to sit on that. I read it in every translation, and in some translations it said more than you can ask or imagine. I was like, are you daring me, God? Because I got an imagination that can. And he was like, I can do better, right? And it was really interesting that I got stuck. And, this is always going to be a hard question to answer, but it's not about coming out with the right answer. It's about nudging your mind, your thoughts, your ways of being, to even consider that there's a possibility that my soul's deepest desires that I buried in the land of never land, and then what comes up for you is the battle of the ego, right? I was talking to Yvonne before we got on here, the battle of the ego, because there's somebody else saying, no, you can't, right? So that battle comes up, and I was thinking exceedingly abundantly above. What am I not giving myself permission to desire? Right. And it's amazing, because it's not about, oh my gosh, I'm just going to go into fantasy land, write all my fantasies, and then wait on God to do it, or wait for the universe to do it. It's about knowing that whatever you think, whatever's a dream for you, is a reality in a different realm.
Yeah.
Whatever's a dream for you is not just a certainty in another realm. There's somebody waiting to outdo that.
Like exceedingly, there's someone waiting to exceed that you're thinking about. Actually, not even in another world. Like the way sometimes it's because when we don't even know when we don't have an experience of something, we don't know it's possible. There's probably a woman out there, even in this very world today, who's living your life,
100%.
the very life that you want. But because we have never seen it, we've never like held it or believed it, it becomes difficult to then like, wow. And what I love about what God does, he starts to show you little windows.
Mhm.
He starts to open up little glimpses of it is possible. But it's not down to the belief, right? Like even when you read Ephesians 3:20, it's about, if you think about it, it's like God is like, you know, I can do exceedingly abundantly above all you can think of, like all, not just, oh, I just want a car, I
Not
want a
some.
house, all.
Yeah.
The child that you want, I can do above all, like everything,
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
you could ever think of. I can do abundantly. I can 10 times that. I can 100 times that. But we are always stuck at even just the current, or can I actually have that?
Yes. In the first place. Yeah.
You know, it's really funny listening to what you've just said, Janika, and listening to what Chengi said earlier. And when you said nobody ever asked, and it's a really strange thing, because I think all of us who identify as, you know, 35 and upwards, your way in which we were brought up is completely different to today. You had to eat what you were given, you wore what you were given, you did the things that you were told to do. The other day I was in a supermarket and there was a mother pushing her son around, and he was sitting in, do you know, the place where the children sit? And every time she went around, she would pick up something and she would say to him, so what, do you want this one or this one? And she would give him the choices. And I looked at her as she was going around, and it astounded me. And my days of old, you know, this was before Black Swan. I'm thinking to myself, but this one, what do you mean you're asking your child? He's small enough to be fitting in the, do you know, the trolley where you fit them, and she's pushing around. And every time she went over to the freezer, she would take a few things out and ask him which one he wanted. And when he didn't, he shook his head. And when he did, his face lit up. And she put them in the basket. And I'm thinking, is she mad? I didn't get it until I became a Black Swan, because you know what? That little boy, when he grows up, is not going to have a problem with exceedingly abundantly and above, because you know why? He started from a young age, being given the choice. What do you want? Even as an adult, when I went to my parents' house, I'm married, I've got a child. My mum wouldn't ask me, what do you want? Dinner was cooked. You came and you ate. Do you get what I mean? It wasn't, what do you want? What would you like, Yvonne?
Oh my God. And like, you get so used to, like, it's that whole thing of because here we teach you how to learn to be feminine and receive, right? But if you're never open to receiving, and when you're saying that story, it reminded me of a time when I went to South Africa and I was staying with my brother, and I was making breakfast for everyone. So I was asking Darcy, my daughter, I think she was like 3 or 4 at the time, and I was asking her, what do you want? We've got cornflakes, or like, what do you like? She's like, oh, cornflakes, mommy. And I remember the reaction, my brother was like, should that even be coming out of your mouth? Should you even be asking a child, what do you want? And then if you kind of fast forward, like, oh, she just turned 18. I've had a very emotional week. My eyes have been puffy. I've been crying because I'm realizing I taught her to want what she wants all her life. And now that she is going out there, going out with her friends, being independent, I'm like, but you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to do that to me. But it's that part of where I now have to let go. And I think that's what we do to ourselves when we have dreams and we don't allow them to express. There comes a point, I think that's the in-between where, okay, now I have my dream. In module 5, you're getting in there like, okay, now I need to express it and live it out. But that dream never, ever got a chance to learn how to receive itself to you, if that makes any sense, because it was stifled all along. And it's only in the past you've done this like maybe for the past 4 weeks, you've been with this coach who's telling you you can want what you want, you can believe what you want, you can let go your past doesn't define you, all of these things that we tell our clients. When they come to module 5 and like that dream almost comes alive again, but they're so afraid and it's scary to actually like walk into it now. And coming back to Ephesians 3:20, it's the whole thing of, now that you've got this dream, I can give it to you. It is yours abundantly. It's now the belief part, right? It's like most of us don't believe that it can actually come and sit with us. And we're always told, like, stop. Like, I remember growing up being told, stop daydreaming, stop, having your head in whatever, all the things that they tell you.
Yeah.
But you're now at module 5, and I think all of us here have done soulmate at some point, and it's only like recently, like, because I had the week, it wasn't like a week off, but it was a week of a lot of thinking, when I'm thinking I am actually living the dream I wrote down in my module 5, I wrote down in my journals. I'm living in that dream now, but only because I had a coach to then tell me, okay, no, you can. And I've continued within the Black Swan Relationship Academy. So sometimes it's almost like when you're with a client, you do the module yourself as well. You're continuously doing the module, because you have to also talk from experience. Because I can't guide someone and say, okay, no, you can live your dream, but I'm still stuck in a marriage that was not the best. And yes, I'd fought for it, but I would have still been stuck in that mindset. Oh no, I need to be in this, because this is my lot. This is where I'm stuck to. But what I love about module 5, it just allows you, so it allows your dream to come alive again.
Yeah.
And it allows you to actually, and I love the title as well. It's like, it allows you to actually cultivate the dream. Because sometimes we think, oh, it's going to go, the universe is going to manifest it into my existence. I will walk into it. I'll jump into it. But what module 5 does, it helps you actually cultivate that and break down the steps in which, okay, this is what I need to do to walk into it. This is what I need to believe to walk into it. And by asking those very questions, it's what's what you call the reticular activating system. That if I want a red car and I keep continuously thinking of a red car, I'm going to start to see a red car. So if I want my dream to come alive, I need to continuously cultivate that part, that the dreamer part of me, so I can start to see the tall, dark, handsome silver fox man that I love so much in my vicinity.
Yes. Exactly. And I love that you both have touched on, family dynamics in terms of how we were raised, and because the ego is really created in our upbringing, the whole, I was talking to a client of mine, and she sent me a message, and she was saying, I really want this in a man. And she had this beautiful picture of what she wanted. And actually, we're going into module 5 soon. And then she sort of caveated that with, but I know I can't have everything. And I get that, because I think there's this whole kind of throw your list in the bin. It's never going to be, and sometimes I think people listen and think, okay, do I have a list or don't I have a list? Like, or, and of course we've discussed the list in one of our lives. So please go and watch those when we're talking about module 1, in fact, making sure that list has got core needs. But it was really me explaining to her that, look, what we desire, whatever that is, whatever we give ourselves permission to need and want and desire, that's a start point, not a finish point.
Yes.
Is the point where, when you have had your, then it's going to be told, I have a silver fox, it's going to have $1 billion pounds, it's going to be so amazing. That's where you are submitting to God. That's okay. This is my biggest dream and desire. That's the start point. From there, God is going to look and think, you don't need that. I know you, my child. But whatever he takes away, he's replacing with something that you truly desire.
Exceedingly abundantly.
That is exceedingly abundantly. And, one of the other scriptures I really love is, my ways are not your ways, and here's the trick with the hack, if you like, or the principle when we are dreaming, is to understand that there isn't a too big a dream. But I can't possibly really be that good at dreaming for myself. I mean, God is the dreamer.
Mhm.
Right? God dreamt of you and I before we came to pass. God dreamt of the universe and the earth and the stars and the moon. He dreamt it.
Yeah.
He's the number one dreamer. He's like the chief dreamer.
Mhm.
So much so that he likes to speak to us through dreams sometimes, and has carved, the journey of our patriarchs through dreams. He is the number one dreamer, so he can always dream a better dream than you. So it's really about the humility and the courage to say, this is what I want. I want to live in a chocolate factory and eat chocolate every single day and never get fat. I live my best life. And knowing that the parent will say, yeah, but you need a nutritious meal too, right?
Yeah.
The parent is going to be able to then take what you are submitting and give you something so much better.
Yeah.
And you might not think it's better because you're gonna be like, I ordered a billionaire. How come I got a blue collar guy?
Yeah.
But the parent who is God knows, and it's interesting. I use that analogy of I ordered a billionaire, I get through. I think that also speaks to a lot of my own limitations, and the limitations that we have is for some reason God is always going to give us the downgrade, and then he's going to make us want it, right? So I want the billionaire, and God is not going to give you the trillionaire. He's going to give you the broke guy and make you work with that one, and a lot of it has to do with not only our own personal identity, what we deserve. I was on a podcast, and I think it was Dr. Daff, and I had been really meditating on this for a very long time. And it was just this reality that we don't get what we want. We don't get what we think. We don't even get what we desire. We get what we believe we deserve.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we even ask for what we think we deserve. And some of us, and that what we think we deserve is based on our internal self-imaging. Who do I think I am? And why would I deserve the earth, the moon, the stars? Why would I deserve the very best? And when we have an identity that is broken, where we do not deserve, other people deserve it, but not us. Other people, that can happen for Jennifer Lopez, and that can happen for Unique, and that can happen for that person, but it can't happen for me. This is where the issue of your identity comes in. And from the place of your identity, you do everything. So you're never going to ask or go to the places you need to go, have the conversations you need to have to manifest that zillionaire, right? You're not going to be in the places because in your mind, you should be cleaning those places, not dining in them, right? In your mind, you should be, the waiter or the waitress in that establishment, not necessarily the one who is being served. And so, really circling back to Yvonne's example of, that child in the trolley being given this image and this picture that, look, there's abundance, you choose. And how so many of us were not raised like that. Many of us were raised with parents that didn't have enough or an abundant mindset. And all of that sort of affects us when we get to this point. So at this point, we're facing that demon that says, why not me? And that's what I ask myself now, whenever that egoic voice says, you're not worthy, shut up. You've got to graft. You got to work through everything before you can win the prize. You've got to sweat. When that voice comes in, or you got to lose a few times, or you have to suffer for a while. And while some of those principles are absolutely true, I always ask myself, okay, even when I go through that, why not me? Why can't I be that girl?
Yeah.
And I say that to my clients. Okay, why me? Why would I get what I want when the rest of the world doesn't? Well, why not you?
Maybe it's because we think to ourselves that do you know when you use the word cultivate means that you put the seed in and you have to tend it, you have to water it, you have to take care of it. So, so it could just be a mindset where we believe that it's something that we can do in our own strength. And if I could do it on my own, then it would have happened years ago and I wouldn't probably be sitting here. But when we have to wait on the Lord to do it, that's something that nobody's prepared for, because here's the thing with the God that we love and we serve. You could be 90, like Sarah, and give birth to the promise, and God still wins. The fact that you went through all that years, or, you know, you could be 2 million people leave a place, and the 2 million people that left, 2 of them of the original get in, God won, and God is happy with that. He's not sitting there holding a pity party for himself.
No.
We start on the journey that we're going on, and we say that, you know what, in order for me to get the billionaire or what have you, I need to find places that you know, rich men hang out in. So I'm not going to be in my local pub. I'm going to find a yacht club, go there, register, go, and that's where you're going to meet men of a certain caliber. Join this group, join the other group, and you go. They look you up and down. You ask for an application form, and they tell you that, oh, it's references only. You can't join. You've got to be referred. So you walk out with your head down, and your ego is saying to you, you see, I told you you weren't good enough to go. So what do? You go home, you sit down, you put your feet up, and you say, you know what? That really is for Jennifer Lopez, because I'm not good enough. Yeah. And because I'm not good enough, let me stay here, because this is where I belong. So the next time somebody comes along, and you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, this person is not your person. But what you tell yourself and what the ego says to you is, you know what, sweetheart, half a bread is better than none, to go with him. And then the next thing you know, you're 18 months later, you're sitting in front of one of us saying, this is what happened. And then when you look and track your past, these are the people that you have picked all along. And why? We didn't want to go again. We didn't think we could go again, because we thought, I tried it once, it didn't work, so I'm going to give up. If that's the case, then nothing would get done, because the beauty of the God that we serve, he will test us. And God tests us in some ways. Then you think to yourself, but how can you love me and test me this way? Ask Paul. Paul, when I go to heaven and I want to talk to Paul and ask him, how did you manage to cheer? When you listen to all the things that Paul went through, it's not that Paul didn't love God or God didn't love Paul, but these are the things that he had to go through, and people had to see him do that so that they would know he truly was serving God, because after all, he was persecuting them. So now he's being persecuted. They realize, there is a God. So, you know, it's not a case, I think, of sometimes that we don't have the, we're not in a place to ask for what we want. We are, and we do ask for it. But when we slip at the first hurdle, we sit down, and then it takes years to get back up again. Look at that hurdle and think, you know what? Maybe it really isn't for me. My mother always said I was a dreamer, and look.
It's such a powerful statement you make. You know, one of the things I was thinking about, certainly when it comes to this module, is we try it once, we fail, and then we decide, well, clearly it's not for me. And when we're looking at all the history of our clients, it just seems to get worse and worse and worse. It's funny how we never say, well, I still want the same thing. I still deserve the same thing. I'm still going to choose the same. This time I'm choosing better. I was saying to a client of mine once, I said, she was like, oh, you know, look through all her list. And she was like, you know, I think maybe I asked too much. So I was looking at this list and I said, darling, your actual problem is you don't ask enough.
Too little.
And I know it sounds so decadent, you know, don't ask enough. She thinks she asked too much. A lot of us are not asking enough. And of what we are asking, it's kind of heaven's trash. You know, I want money. I want a man with money. That is heaven's trash. Anyone can have money. If they apply themselves, if they sow good seed, they will reap a harvest. If they work hard, they'll reap a harvest. So really not, money isn't that mystical, okay?
Mhm.
But we're not asking for cherishing. We're not asking for kindness. We're not asking for presence, like the presence of that person. We're not asking for true attention. We're not asking enough of, in fact, the things that we truly desire,
Yeah.
right? We're not asking enough even of our careers.
Mm.
You know, we're saying, oh, just pay me good. You're not asking enough. Even if you sit here and dream of a zillions, you're not asking enough, because the truth is your soulful desires that you would enjoy your work and find meaning in your work. You know, I was listening to Ecclesiastes, and King Solomon was saying, you know, he's searched, he's eaten everything, he's had everything, he's gone everywhere, he's had everything. And I mean, he's full with everything. There's nothing that he's denied himself. And he has found this one thing to be true, that for a man to do his work and to enjoy it is truly to live. Wow.
Mm.
You've
Wow.
had it all, you've been it all, you've driven it all, you've eaten it all, you've traveled to every place, and you've concluded that to be able to wake up every day and enjoy your work, that's true wealth. So we're not even asking enough of our careers. We think if we're asking for more money, more status, a different title, a promotion, that we've asked enough. But have we actually sat with ourselves and say, I deserve to wake up every morning and love what I do?
Yeah.
I deserve to go to work with people I like. You know, I just
Tell me about that one.
I actually deserve to want to get up at any time that I'm asked to get up. I deserve to be excited about the next thing happening in my world, within my career, within my work, because that's true riches. Even if I don't get the zillions, if I can wake up every day that I live to love what I do and do it well and feel validated, and we don't even ask that. Same thing with men. We don't ask. We ask it, well, how much does he make? Where does it come from? What's his family? And
most of the time we don't even like
a believer. Exactly. Right.
Like honestly, I think that was one of my conclusions. Like, I need to like someone. I need to like my man. I need to like, well, like when we're married and I wake up next to you, I'm like, yeah, I like you. You're right. Because
100%.
I need to like him.
100%. I mean, just think about that. You know, we are married to people we don't even like. I came across some random reel or short on YouTube, just random as it is. And this guy was being interviewed, and the guy who was interviewing said, so, you know, how long were you with your ex-girlfriend? And he said 5 years. And he said, oh, he said, what's the one thing that you wish you could have said to her? And he said, I didn't like her. He's like, I was with her for 5 years because she was available. She was giving me what I needed sexually, and she was providing the things that I needed, but I didn't like her. And I thought, well, that is candid and good for you to know. I mean, you wasted somebody's life for 5 years, but how many of us really truly are dating men with money, you know, men who are successful, but we don't like them. Like, I don't like you. I wouldn't even be your
I
friend.
actually propose that it's actually harder to find something you like if you don't lean into it. Because as children, we all know, like, again, back to the example that Yvonne gave, that child knew what they liked and what they don't like, and they were encouraged in that. But if you're growing up like us, we didn't know what we liked, or we just like what we were told to like. You like red. Okay. You like pink because you're a girl. You like blue because you're a boy.
Yeah.
You like going to boarding school.
Yeah.
You like this kind of guy. You like this kind of job. If you're not an accountant, doctor, you're not liked. This is what you like.
Yeah.
And it's like you come 40 years later and you now ask her, what do you like? That's what I'm saying. I think I propose that that's actually harder to find out. what we like. And this is where, again, when it comes back to the module, you teach you to lean into what your heart is saying, what your soul is saying. That's why that question is so hard to answer, because your soul really should have been the one thing that we're feeding from the time you were born, but instead we're feeding your mind and your body, and your soul is starved. Even at church, sometimes all you're doing is singing and praising and preaching and but we're never ever really asked to inquire on what the soul's purpose and what the soul needs. And it's so funny how all of it is, it's intertangled. It's like you can't do one without the other. So that's why sometimes we come to a crisis in our lives, like, you know what, I'm just going to throw away everything and just do what I like. And it's more out of frustration rather than, you know what, I actually like this kind of man. I actually like this kind of job. I love what I do. It's one of those things that if you have not done the work on yourself, you're going to find difficult, which is, again, why I guess you decided, let's actually break down the soulmate course. So it makes people really realize why we actually do what we do. We do it because it's those questions that we were never asked. I'm sure you were never asked growing up, like, what do you actually like? Like, no one ever, as much as this is going to sound like heresy, like, I've never liked salsa ever in my life, but I grew up eating it because that's what was there. I've never liked it. And it's only in more recent years I'm like, I actually don't like it. I don't like the taste of it. I might miss it because it's something that we used to eat back home. I enjoy it, but I actually don't like it. I really don't. I do not have meal in my house. As in Zimbabwe women, that is like proper blasphemy. But I realized over the years, I don't like it. And it's learning to own things like that, right? Like, and that's why we say in Module 5, this is where you start to own your dream. And this is why we do what we do, because we need women and men, because we do for men as well, to realize that your soul actually has a greater purpose than the world would have you think. Your soul is really the one thing that you should be feeding for you to be able to walk in your purpose. And your purpose is more important than the money that comes into your bank, because if you're going to a job that does not fulfill your soul, if you're going to a job that doesn't fulfill your purpose, you are still just going to be chasing after money. You're going to be chasing after time. You're going to be chasing after people. You won't like what you do. And as simple as it may sound, we love what we do and we like the people that we do it with, right? That's why we are here. Like, that's why we show up on a Tuesday. That's why we show up on the meetings, because we actually like that. It's not that we don't have to, right? No one's dragging us. Like, no one's like, okay, you got a curfew, you need to be here. But we do it because we like it, and it feeds the soul. And it's so amazing how simple things like that are what actually do feed the soul.
That's the beauty of the God that we serve. All the things that are good and my brain's gone blank. All the things that are good that we should do, they don't require us to go out there and fast for 21 days before. No, actually. To climb a mountain to the top of it and do all the horrors and sit there for a week and do, the sackcloth and ashes just for that. And the thing that one of the things I love about God the most is when he elevates us, there is never, ever, ever a fanfare to say you have arrived. You don't get the trumpet sounding when you've approached the door. No, there's none of those, all hail, Unique has arrived, and, we clap for you. No, nobody does that, or you do your queen wave, and, there isn't any of those things. And so it is with the things, our likes and our dislikes. When we find out what it is that we like, and this is what I want, and, I love me, there is no fanfare to tell you like yourself, or, today, many a times I will go out and I think, okay, so what do I want to eat today? And I'm looking around and but I don't want that though, and I could be a 5-year-old wanting to throw a tantrum because I can't actually see something on the shelf that I want. And sometimes I think because, when you know to do for you, I think, well, hold on a minute, but I should know what I want. I do, but I don't see it there. I've got a certain thing in my head and I've got a taste in my mouth and that's what I want, but I can't find it. So what do? I come home, I go in the kitchen, oh, I've got this, I've got that, there you go, dinner's done. Do you get what I mean? And it doesn't, there was no fanfare. Yvonne has found what she wants.
Yeah.
Yet, you know, there isn't a fanfare for the things that we do when they're right. We just continue doing them. And it's one day it dawns on us. But hold on a minute, I'm in charge of my life and I'm liking it. And you know, when you hear our clients say, I said no, and I was okay with it, and they feel kind of sheepish, you get what I mean? Because they've used their nose. And you know, I will say to someone, it's okay for you to say no. It really is. Really? Yeah, try it. Go on, say it. No, I can't. Say it. No, I can't. And it takes them a long time to realize that actually it's the same thing when you're dating and when you've decided, because by the time you've done module 4 and you're coming to the end of 5 and you're single, that should be the thing that you're looking towards doing. You should be thinking about, okay, I'm ready. So how am I going to, you know, approach this? And when we're talking about the dating and the flirting and dating playbook, and, you know, get this, look through it, let's work on it to see what you do when you date. And, you know, so what's intentional dating then? So do I have to do this? Do I have to say that? Do I have to go here? What's a contract? What do you mean I have to do a contract? I've got to make a contract. And all of these things, do you get what I mean? It's exciting, but no, I can't. I couldn't do that. I couldn't say that to a man. It's such, and then you see them by the time they get to module 7, they're dating like a pro and doesn't know how it happened. You get what I mean? But they're doing it, and we don't stop and think, I've done it. Yeah. We just continue with life, you know, and we don't celebrate our little wins, and God doesn't announce the big ones. So nobody is
absolutely. It's so funny you say that, because I was just thinking about I think it was a conversation. What was I having with it? Anyway, I forget who I was having this conversation with. I was having a conversation.
Well, probably one of us and every one of us.
Exactly.
But sometimes we have conversations. I'll be thinking, no, I had this conversation with Yvonne, but no, actually I had it with Chengi. But I really have it with Yvonne or Chengi or Nadine, or maybe even Edwina. But because we're in the same WhatsApp group.
Exactly. I've even forgotten what the conversation was. I'll probably remember when we're kind of nearly finished. And it's not your fault. It just really skipped my mind. But it's something that Yvonne was saying that really just triggered a conversation that I was having with somebody about, you know, this. I can't believe it. My mind has literally gone blank. Somebody can talk while I remember the thought.
Oh, we're talking about Yvonne.
Yeah. Yeah, go back. That's the thing about going live. Just rewind.
Oh, when someone now learns to say no.
Yes. Okay, I remember. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was talking to a journalist this week, and I said to her, well, when somebody, you know, you go on a date and somebody misbehaves, or a man doesn't, you know, behave the way you believe you deserve to be treated, you just excuse yourself. You know, you say, thank you so much for inviting me, but, you know, I think it's time for me to excuse myself and go home, but I wish you all the best. And she was like, really? You can do that? I was like, yeah. And she's like, I think all of us think we just have to sit through the whole hour and a half and just brave it out. And so I told her about a client of mine who, honestly, I was so proud of her. She had this thing about dating guys who would go to the date and then start crying. The last one, men would cry. They'll start talking about their exes and start to cry. She has consoling soul. Sometimes it's an energy signature, right? If you haven't done the energy mastery class, you won't understand what I'm saying. But she has this energy signature that people just want to share and just unburden themselves. So this was happening with men. It's always guys that were still fresh out of a breakup or still hurting would always go on a date with her. And I said to her, look, you really don't have to sit there and be a man's therapist. Like, this is really not, you're not getting paid for that. You're looking for a husband, okay? Husband, not client, for therapy, right?
Yep.
And I didn't tell her to do this, but I'm so glad, because this module really kind of got inside of her, where she realized, what do I deserve?
Yeah.
And so she's having dinner with this guy, and he's, here we go again. She could see it coming. He wouldn't stop talking about it. And then he was almost in tears. So she said, I am really sorry that this has happened to you, but I deserve a man who is ready and whose heart is open to love, who wants to date for something real. I deserve that. And because I know you can't give that to me right now, I'm just going to say thank you for inviting me out and wish you all the best. I hope you can resolve it. She left that dinner table graciously, like the black swan that she is.
Yes, as you do.
All dolled up. She just refused to subject herself, and that's never happened to her again. Why? Because she had, when you know what you deserve, you close doors, spiritual doors, energetic doors, right? You activate and put in motion a new set of principles concerning you. Guys say to me, and this has been happening for a long time, they've always said, you're the girl that a man has to know what he wants when he comes to talk to you. I have never announced that. I've never had to say, listen, let me tell you something. And a lot of the guys I date don't even know what I do when they meet me. But there's something in my energy signature. But guess what? I wasn't that girl. For a long time, I was, come and play with me. I'm here for the playing with, right? And I'm the one that got hurt. And I'm the one. But one day I remember, sort of kneeling on my bedside, because obviously my lessons are 100 times harder than everybody else's, because I didn't have the soulmate, right? So I'm kneeling by my bedside, and I was dressed to go on a date. And this happened to me where men would just not come. Not show up. So I'm weeping. And I remember sort of deciding, I don't know, it was a crazy thought. And I thought, get your phone and take a picture of yourself crying, because something shifted in me that day. And I took this picture and I just looked awful and pathetic. And I looked at myself and my internal self-image, and I thought, girl. And I remember saying to myself, I will never, ever, ever love a man more than I love myself. Because in that moment, it became so clear that I was giving out what I deserved, that I wasn't loving myself. I kept loving others more in the hope that they would love me back. And that awakening in me set in motion a spiritual principle concerning me, set in motion a dynamic concerning me, that men know I love myself. They know it. I remember going on a date, and it was the first date, and he shows up and he says, when you're done with a man, you're done, right? And I was like, oh, pretty much. That's the first time I'd ever met him. He'd seen me sitting at the table. He was tad bit late. He was on time, but I was early. And he kind of saw me sitting down having a drink, and he kind of circled round, and he'd sort of seen me. And just my energy signature told him, that girl sitting over there, when she's done, she done. Right? And this is why it's so important that at some point with my client, she called me, she was so proud of herself. She was like, Chengi, I finally realized I deserved better. I think she got engaged like a few months after that. It was the one thing, and this is the power of all the modules. They can, like Penny was saying, one of our guests, you don't know which module is going to be the ticket for you. I know that by the time you get to module 7, a very important penny drops that shifts the way that you think and feel about yourself, that then shifts the energy frequency that you operate on. And for the first time, this woman knew I deserve to be on a date with a man that's attentive to my needs, that wants to charm me, that wants to spoil me, that wants to be there for me to find the same thing I'm looking for. And she stopped that in her life. Sometimes we think, oh, when will it stop? No, you stop that.
The power.
You have the power. You create your world. You have to be able to answer the question, if I deserved better, what would that be?
And you actually mentioned something about opening doors, that for you to be able to get into another door, you need to close the door behind you, because you don't want everything else that was there to follow you. And the reason we do this process in modules is that you open certain doors. Let's deal with what is in, like, it's like you're dealing with that elephant in your room, the one that we've always been ignoring. But you start to deal with it chunk by chunk. Okay, so the tail is in this room. Let's deal with that. What happened to your parents? Blah, 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 blah. Do that module 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is you dealing with all those doors that were open. All because the thing is, what we don't realize about energy is, like, energy signatures attract, like, it's this whole thing about you attract who you are. You get what you deserve. It's because your energy signature is reading like it is in that room. If you're constantly going to read like a KFC girl, you're not going to be taken to the, what was that come, the Langham. It's not going to happen, because you need to close that door. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with KFC, but I'm just saying on an energetic level, if you are, and it's true for pretty much anything we do. You cannot come, say you're a cleaner and then you want to come and apply for a CEO role. You have to go through the process of being able to say, okay, now I deserve to apply for this particular role. In any job we do, we put in the work, we put in the effort, we put in the hours. We will train, like, so for you to master anything, you need to do 10,000 hours. Like, we will master what we need to master to get that money, right? But when it comes to the relationships, we don't think the same energy and principles apply. The thing is the principle. When you mentioned about the door, it was really, for me, what resonated with me was like, this girl, the client that you had, she had to close that door of men always coming to weep at her feet, because she had that signature at that time. She needed to close that door.
That's right.
And the minute she closed that door, she was then able to open another door.
Yes.
It's like you cannot hold both in, like, you cannot hold them in both hands. You cannot say, no, I'll attract the man of my dreams, but still be entertaining the, what we call the dusties, entertaining the men who are crying, them entertaining the men who are standing you up, entertaining the men who are just, like, at the talking stage 10 months later. It's that whole understanding that this is to teach you to get to that higher level. And if your dream is going to come to fruition, you need to be able to climb towards it as well. Your dream needs someone to come and pluck it and pick it down. If an apple doesn't fall, like, you need to come up on the tree and get it down, right? Most of the time, by the time the apple falls off the tree, it's almost rotten. The fresh apples are the ones that are still plugged onto the tree. So if you want that nice, fresh, good something, you need to get your ladder, climb up on the tree, get the apple, right? So that you can bite into freshness. Same thing applies. If you want that better life, you need to apply. You need to literally, right now, be on the website, like, how do I get into the soulmate attraction so I can get onto that next ladder? And with the coach as well, because it's one of those things, like, I think even in athletics, if you want your game to be strong and get onto the professional league, you need a coach.
100%.
If you want to be happy playing at minor league, that's fine. And that's okay. Do that. But if you want to be really that kind of person who achieves their dreams and not always just a dreamer and watching your dream go by, if you want to be one of those people that sees their dreams happen, you need a coach. You need the soulmate attraction system. You need to just jump. And sometimes, like Penny said last week, having the man is like the cherry on top. But everything else that happens, like the good news that she shared with us, amazing, amazing news. Anything that our clients share with us is because they've done the work. And when they come out on the other side, it's like now the dream is so attainable. It's become normal to hear that someone has achieved something as part of whether it was part of their mood board, whether it was part of something that they wrote down in their goals in module 2 or module 1. It's become normal for us to hear that it's happening, right? It's become normal for us to be seeing their stories on Instagram, and we're following them around the world, and it's become normal. Whereas before they joined, it was like, it seemed like impossible. But it took them closing the doors to their beliefs that, okay, this is impossible, to now thinking, if it can happen to someone else, it can happen to me. And they've now opened the door. So I guess I think Yvonne is better at this, at like, because
Yes, Yvonne, over to
not
you.
so much of that. Over to you, Yvonne. Help them open the door.
There's a couple of things that you said, Unique, and the first one that you said, then my mind went in to overdrive, and it's that scripture that says that you can't serve two masters. So when you've got because that's what you're giving out, and you want to, somebody's coming and sitting at your table on a date and they're crying, that master is serving you, you're serving it, and everybody's getting along fine, but you don't want it anymore. So what you said about the door, you go out, you close it, you open the other ones, you close it, you take it off, you open the other door, and you put the right mind on that you want to attract the person that you want to attract. And when it comes to gosh, my mind is gone. When it comes to what you were speaking about, the modules and the things that we do in the module 5, here's the thing with module 5 and all the modules, it isn't just the one that's there. If you don't know what it is you want and you don't know where you're going, anybody can lead you to it. They can take you, perfect thing. A blind person leading a blind person, the destination is always going to be a ditch. There comes a time in our lives when we need to take the blinkers off. Let the scales fall from our eyes, and let us truly stand and look in the mirror. And what do you see looking back at you? If the person you see looking back at you, and you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, you know what, I'm not liking what I see, I want something else. And if you want something else, then what I would advise you to do is go on the Black Swan website, put in SMAS, you'll see all the things come up. Fill out the form, book the discovery call, either with Unique, with Chengi, with Edwina, Nadine, myself. Book a discovery call with any of us. And you can see from the way we're all sitting here, we're talking, we're normal women. The things that we're talking about, and the reason why I say look at yourself and ask yourself that question, Chengi knows this, I don't know if I ever shared it with Unique. Nearly 2 years ago, when the second wave of COVID was going on, I had been made redundant from work, and I spent a year at home. And that year I spent at home, I spent it in my closet with God. And it was one of the hardest times for me, and it was one of the greatest times for me. And what happened on this particular day, I saw a healed me. I was sitting in my closet and I saw myself. And I remember speaking to Chengi, and I said to her, I want to come and work with you. She had been asking me for years, and I'd always said no. And this day I said to her, I want to come and work with you because I've seen an Yvonne and I want to know what she looks like. I want to be her, because I certainly wasn't that person at the time. And that, with the soulmate, with the other training that we've gone through with my clients, everyone, I have been able to be a person now. When I look at myself in the mirror and I look back at me, I can say, you know what, you're okay. For years, I could never say that. When somebody says something nice to me, I would give them a War and Peace Part 5 as to why nice showed up that day, because that wasn't normally me. And now, after much reading, somebody says, oh, you look nice. I smile and say, thank you. And I say, and how's your day going? And go where I'm going. This has taken time. The beauty of the God that we serve, he doesn't have a magic wand. He is not a comedian. He is not a magician. Everything else there has to have a time limit in it. So if you too want to be whole, if you want to have the life of your dreams and know that you're going somewhere, not just going somewhere for the sake of going, but you have got a purpose, you have got something that is gnawing away at your inside, and you just want to either for it to shut up or to do something about it. If you want something to be done about it, then get on the app. Go on to Black Swan Relationship. Look, find, book a discovery call and do it. We're here to help you. And you will find out when you sit in front of Unique, you will not believe how blessed you were the moment you sit in front of her, because she is going to do everything in her power to help you with the God that we serve, help you be the woman that you're supposed to be. Edwina, oh my dear, she's one of the most wonderful persons that you could meet. Nadine, oh, our Nadine, and you all know me. So don't delay, because you know what it's like. Everything, it has a time limit. It's the same thing with us and God. God will say, do this tomorrow, do this. And guess what? The thing that you were supposed to do that God had in mind for you, and you didn't do it, there was a song in you, a poem in you, a book in you, a story that you had to tell that would touch, change, and transform the lives of many, but you kept on saying tomorrow. When the tomorrow came, it went to a family member because you didn't feel right the way in which you looked, how you performed, and the things that you do. Don't let life pass you by, and then you sit there, you're too old to do anything about it, and you say, if I had known. We're telling you now, do something. Help you to help those around you and those coming behind you. Yes?
Yes, and thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you so much, ladies. You've been so amazing. And I know that everybody in the comments is like, whoa, dropping gems, amazing. I know that those of you who love to catch us on the lives are really benefiting from this conversation, because I really just decided, look, we're just going to have a conversation. We're going to speak from our hearts. We're just going to talk through, because pretty much just how we talk when we're by ourselves and the cameras are off. This is pretty much how we vibe. But I as Yvonne was talking, I could hear somebody maybe in the replay or maybe in the live right now doing, but I can't afford it. Like, how much is it anyway? Preoccupied with money. And I just wanted to say, and I was saying to a client who was on a discovery call, because she'd watched one of these, and she picked up the phone and said, look, I'm 30 now, and I realized I've just been messing, and it's my time. I mean, she was just weeping because, she'd really been touched by the episode that Penny was on, and she really felt she could relate, and she was ready. And, she's a student. She doesn't even, she's not somebody, she's not one of our CEOs or our celebrities. She's just, an ordinary girl in Africa, really. But knowing truly that she heard that resonated with her and she wanted to call. So we started having this conversation, and I was sharing with her something that I'm going to share with you before we say goodbye. And I'm going to try and do it in the next minute. I was just saying to her that, and Yvonne is a witness to this, I have done some crazy things to get here. One thing I decided when I was quite young, probably around in my 20s, I made up my mind that money would never be the reason I do something or not do it. So I would never take on an opportunity just because of the money, and I wouldn't not take up an opportunity because I didn't have the money. Like, money would be excluded from any decision that I would make. I have no idea where that wisdom came from, obviously from the Holy Spirit. And I bought houses with no money. I did all these things with no money because, as far as I was concerned, money would not decide my future. The money I had would not decide what I will do, and the money I do not have will not decide what I cannot do. And I remember this one time I was part of a network marketing company, and it was very much a pitch like this, conversation like this, where people were coming and talking and telling their stories about their journey to Vegas and how that journey had created all of these opportunities and how their business has skyrocketed. And everyone was like, after Vegas, you will never be the same again. And it was very much like how we're talking about the soulmate. We think, oh, yes. So anyway, I decided I was so broke. I was a single mom working 3 jobs. I couldn't even afford to pay for my electric, right? So I'm sitting there in my front room. My son is with his dad. I'm in my front room. I don't even think I had enough food to eat that day. But, I'm sitting there and I'm all alone. I will never forget the day. And I said, I have made a decision that my success, my future will never be determined by money. Right now, I cannot afford it. I think I needed £1,000 to make the trip. And so I sat there and I was like, I know that I have to do this. I have to do this. Even if nothing happens to my business, I know I have to do this. I must do this. Otherwise, I'm going to be broke, busted, disgusted for the rest of my life. And I'm never going to know what I'm capable of. So here I am, broke, busted, and disgusted. I'm looking at the television, but I make up my mind. And this is the piece that I really want you to understand. Same thing as changing your energy. Same thing as deciding, closing those doors, all the things Unique was saying. You got to close that door that says, because I don't have it, I can't do it. I'm genuinely telling you, I was broke, so broke. I lived a life of being broke. Now I'm looking at the television and I'm thinking there must be a way. But alongside my television was a box of makeup, because I'd been a makeup artist for all of this time. And I was actually retiring from my makeup artistry career. But before I left my makeup artistry career, I had bought new makeup, top end, and some of this makeup was still in boxes and some of it was so new it had hardly been touched, and I'd literally revamped. And so this makeup box had maybe about £3,000 to £4,000 worth of makeup. And I looked at it and I thought, everything I wanted, every penny I wanted is sitting in that box over there. I thought, I can sell my makeup box for $1,000. The person who gets it gets a real bargain. And whilst it was worth £3,000 or £4,000 at the time, I'd bought it at a staff discount. So I'd probably paid about, $1,000 over time, because it was, I think at the time you get 75% off the makeup. So I'd literally bought it for pennies, but I knew what it was worth in the marketplace. So I have this idea. I'm like, I'm going to go and that makeup box is going to pay for it. Now, I didn't even know I had that money sitting in my house. I had to unlock the desire. I had to unlock that I deserved it. I had to feel that I needed to do this. And with all of our clients who have come on here and shared, they weren't sitting with that money just waiting for nothing. Some of them had to use the credit card. And I'm not that I'm advocating people to get into debt, but I'm saying that it first starts with you desiring. And I remember at the time thinking, who am I even going to sell it to? I hadn't even put it, I thought I'll put it on eBay and market it. I hadn't even done that. When I went to work the next day at a job where I was a teaching assistant, one of my 3 jobs, and then one of my colleagues said, oh, my niece is just quit her job to become a makeup artist, to study makeup artistry. I said, oh. She said, yeah, she's looking for a makeup kit. And she's got a budget of $1,000. Do you know where she can get makeup from? I kid you not.
Yeah.
I don't know why I felt I had to share this, because I just feel like there's somebody who's listening to this, who might listen to this. And this is very typical of how my life has moved forward. And I suspect will probably be this way. And I said to her, well, as it happens, I'm ready to sell my makeup kit. And it's this top end, high end makeup. It's not what students use in school. Niece heard about it, drove all the way from London, came, gave me £1,000. And I remember, I think Yvonne joined me at some point. She was like a joiner, I think, at the end. And you didn't even know how you were going to do it either, right? At the time. And I remember sitting in Vegas in the big arena at the very, very top. And I had a moment where, and this wasn't a very short space of time, like it was literally closing in the next, it was like a 2-week gig, right? I'm there and I'm sitting in the arena, and in that moment, something unlocked in me.
Yeah.
In that moment, that network marketing business never took off. Nothing ever happened with that, but something unlocked in me. And what needed to be unlocked in me is this. And this is something a high school friend of mine had said to me, when they're writing on your uniform and they're giving you he had said, he was the head boy of the school I was at, and he said, Chengi, whatever you put your mind to, you will always have. And I remember as I sat in that Vegas, in that top of that thing, coming from my friend, I didn't have babysitter. My friend quit, took 2 weeks off holiday to watch my son. It was crazy, the things that were happening, because I made up my mind. And in that moment, as I sat there, I thought, nothing shall ever be impossible for me.
Yeah.
And from that business, Chengi's World was born, Black Swan is born, and all the amazing things that are happening in my life happened because I changed the belief. That one act, that you might not leave the soulmate with a husband, but you are going to leave with something that changes your life.
Yeah.
And those pivot moments are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Those moments of awakening, they're expensive and hard to come by, but they are always found through courage, bravery, determination. At some point, Hannah went before the temple and she said, look, give me a son. Right? She had been going year upon year, but there's that one cry from your heart. There's that one cry. Give me a son.
That's the thing, that Joy, if you really think of everyone in the Bible, there's always a moment where they realize the price was worth it. Whatever it took. And I think you've mentioned it so many times here. I couldn't afford to do the soulmate at the time, but I was like, Chengi, look, I can sew, I can do this, and I can do this. Can we do something here? Right? So it's one of those things where the price is worth it. And when you look at, like you said, when you look at Hannah in the Bible, when she was crying on the floor, it's like everyone around us thinking you're crazy. And I'm sure all of us, when we've done got into those pivotal moments, some people around us who are in our old WhatsApp groups were looking at us and thinking, she crazy. She about to, I'm going to call the cops on her, because what is she doing? Toiling on the floor. Like, come on, woman, you're drunk.
Yeah.
And that's what it looked like. But she knew what she needed to touch the heart of God and get her son. She knew the price she had to pay. The woman with the issue of blood, she knew that she was going to get orchestrated. You can't touch. Basically, when women are in that state, they were considered unclean. You can't even be around family. You can't be around your husband. You can't be around anyone. But she risked it because she knew the price was worth it. She had already spent, apparently she had spent so much on physicians, she spent so much on everybody knew that, you know what, she risked her all, only just to touch, literally just touch the hem, then she was fine. And that moment for her, you can just imagine that moment for her when she touched the hem, she's like, the price was worth it. And I personally can say that the price has been worth it. The thing, when you got to Vegas, you're like, you know what? Yeah. It was worth it. Yeah. And I think all our clients say that as well. It's like, you know what? It is like that. I mean, fair enough, nowadays we don't have priests walking around so that you can touch them. There's no tangible manifestation of the miraculous. But in the soulmate, what you get to experience is more than that. It's like the tangible miraculousness of God in every single part of your life. Like, all of you know what my relationship was with my daughter years ago. It's like now I'm the same woman who's looking at her and thinking, oh my God, wow. I could have done other things to her a few years ago that I cannot mention online. But it's like the soulmate touches every single part of your life. You cannot, there's no way. There's absolutely no way you get into this program and come out the same. There's no way. I always say I wish we could dig up all of those videos when we came on, and even when I look at pictures, I remember when I showed up at your I think your book launch, when I put the two next, even my energies changed. The face, that woman you saw there and the woman you see today, two different women. The one client I can think of, even when we had Pam on, if you look at who she was before she started the soulmate, her whole energy, her whole aura, everything just changed about her. And it's because They decided to, one, open the door of, first of all, it was Niceville Rehab. And everyone who's on the live actually today, if this is you deciding, I'm opening this door, you stayed on for a reason. You've opened the door. All we can say to you is the price is worth it. Pick up the phone. We don't do phones anymore, do we? Just go online and, get a discovery call and find out what your soul is really calling for. Because this is really all about your soul and not you. And that's what we are more concerned about, that your soul reaching its ultimate purpose and not sitting back and watching. Because what's that thing that Oprah says? I want to get to heaven empty. I want to empty, and I want to live an emptied life. I want to empty everything I came here with. I want to be at the other side and like, you know what, God, I did what I did, and God saying to me, my good loyal, I'm so my what did I say? My good and loyal,
Faithful servant. Yes.
faithful servant.
Yeah.
And it's not about the cars I drove, the men I married, the husband I managed to manifest and get, and the children I had. It's really all about my soul's purpose. And I think sometimes we think our soul purpose is kind of like, oh no, I need to have this particular career. Soul purpose is seen in everything we do. It filters through to everything and everything we exist in. The job that I had, the studies I'm going to do, that is part of the bigger purpose. And I think sometimes we limit it to just being, okay, these are the 5 goals that I need to have. I need to get married, have a child, get this job. But our purpose is so much more than that. And when you get to a point where you like what you're doing, and yeah, could go on and on and on and on.
Yes, we could totally go on and on and on and on and on, because we love to see what it does in people's lives. We love to change lives. We want to share. We don't want to gatekeep the blessing and the miracle, and which is why we're doing this series and this live. So unless Yvonne's got something to say finally, did you have anything you'd like to say?
I'm good, thank you.
Great. She's good to go. So yes, I hope that encouraged somebody. I hope our stories helped you, whoever you are out there. Whenever you hear this, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, that's the beauty of the internet. Hopefully you caught it, and we will be seeing you on the other side. All you have to do is go to blackswanrelationshipacademy.com, go to the Discover tab, go to the drop down button, go to book a discovery call. You will see all of your coaches on there. Choose the one you want to speak to and begin your love story and your love journey, mainly with yourself. And, just transform your life, and you will never, ever be sorry. And we will, of course, see you again next week, Tuesday Night Live, talking about module 6 as we go further and further to the conclusion. And we will see you then. In the meantime, do take care of you. Bye-bye.